My dad bought a new house with borrowed money, lied about it, and didn't invite me to the housewarming party because he and Stepmom have resented me for years, so I did something he'll regret. Hey, so I kinda messed up my dad's housewarming party a few days back, but I swear I had a good reason. Just hear me out before you judge. I'm a 26-year-old guy, and I lost my mom in a freak accident when I was just 5. My dad didn't date for a long time, so we were super close. He only started seeing someone again when I was 13. When I turned 15, he started dating this woman, Nora. They dated for a couple of years and then got married. I always had this gut feeling that Nora didn't really like me, but she acted fine around me, so I thought I was maybe imagining things. After they got married, we all lived together until I went off to college, and everything seemed pretty okay. After graduation, I moved back home for a bit until I found a job. And that's when things changed. Nora wasn't pretending anymore. She openly disliked me. I tried talking to my dad about it, but he just brushed it off, saying she was dealing with some family issues. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she had a problem with me, so I moved out as soon as I could and kept my distance from her. Fast forward to last week. My dad called to tell me they bought a new house since their lease ended. I was surprised since his business hasn't been doing great, but I congratulated him and even offered to help him move. So, I'm there helping out, expecting some gratitude. Later, I find out through some relatives that they're having a housewarming party, and I wasn't even invited. When I confronted my dad, he admitted that Nora didn't want me there. She thought of the new house as a fresh start and didn't want his past mistakes hanging around. He said those were her words, not his, but he respected her feelings. That really hurt. I mean, if he's going along with what she said, it kind of means he agrees, right? We ended up having a major fight over this, and I told him I was done with the both of them. Even my maternal grandparents were pissed off. They had always treated my dad like their own son after my mom died. They think Nora has changed him for the worse. A few days later, my aunt reached out, asking why I wasn't going to the housewarming party. Apparently, my dad told everyone I had a business retreat, which was a total lie. I spilled the whole story to my aunt, including what Nora said and how my dad handled it. She was just as upset and wanted to fix things, but I asked her not to. Then she shared a little secret. My dad had been lying about buying the house with his own money. His business has been struggling, and he actually borrowed the money. So yeah, it's been a mess. All right, let me break down and rewrite this story in a longer, more casual tone, including a bit more detail. So, my dad borrowed a chunk of money from one of his longtime business associates, a guy who had recently come into a big inheritance from a relative. Let's call this associate Sam. Sam and my dad go way back. They've been working together for ages and are practically best friends. They used to have dinner together all the time until Sam moved away. Apparently, my dad hit up Sam saying he needed to borrow some cash because I had expenses that needed covering and his business was floundering, so he couldn't help me directly. He didn't want to disappoint his son. That'd be mess, so he convinced Sam to lend him the money. But here's the kicker. Dad wasn't planning to use the money for me at all. He wanted to buy a house. He'd saved up quite a bit, but needed just a bit more to seal the deal. His logic? Owning a house would save him on rent, and he could pay Sam back whenever he felt like it, as PPOs to rent, which is, a monthly thing that you can't dodge. In my dad's head, this was a master plan. He even bragged about it to my aunt, who told him it was super dishonest, but he didn't seem to care. He started telling everyone he was a homeowner now, making it seem like he pulled it off all by himself. The funniest part? He didn't have to tell or invite Sam to his housewarming party because Sam lived far away. My aunt spilled all this tea to me, saying she wasn't trying to plant any ideas in my head, but, if I wanted to get back at my dad, I knew what to do. I mulled it over for a few days and eventually decided to call Sam. I felt totally insulted by the way my dad had used me as an excuse to get money. I just couldn't let it slide. When I told Sam everything, he was shocked and agreed to my plan right away. He couldn't believe my dad had pulled such a stunt. See, Sam had been hesitant to lend the money in the first place. He wanted to set aside his inheritance for his kids and use his own money for his retirement. Plus, he knew my dad's business was in the dumps and was unsure how long it would take for him to repay. But my dad had really laid it on thick, getting all emotional about wanting to help me, so Sam caved. The cherry on top? Some mutual friends told Sam about the new house. When Sam confronted my dad, Dad lied and said the house was bought with his wife's savings, not a dime of Sam's money. This just made Sam even angrier, so he didn't need much convincing to go along with my plan. On the day of the party, Sam and I showed up at my dad's place. He was surprised to see us but didn't want to cause a scene in front of his guests, so he tried to usher us out quietly. He pleaded with us to leave and said he'd explain everything later because he didn't want things to blow up. But that wasn't what we were there for. We made a big, loud announcement to everyone, spilling all the details about how my dad hadn't actually saved up enough to buy house. We told them about how he borrowed the money from Sam under the pretense of helping me, and then didn't even have the decency to invite me to the party. His guests were stunned. After dropping the bomb, Sam and I left. Since that day, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. My dad keeps trying to call me, begging me to apologize to his guests and tell them it was all a joke because it's totally ruining his reputation. But honestly, I couldn't care less. He didn't give a damn about my feelings, so why should I care about his? He hasn't even apologized to me for how he treated me or for lying to Sam. He's in a mess now, but I think he had it coming, so I don't feel sorry for him. My roommate, though, he feels bad for my dad. We've been living together for 4 years and are tight, so he knows all about the drama. After I told him the whole story, he said what I did was unnecessary. He thinks if my dad made it clear he didn't want me in his life, I should have just cut him off without all the drama. But hey, I did what I thought was right. Honestly, comparing me to him or even to Nora just didn't sit right with me. It felt super unfair, and I told him straight up that he wouldn't get what I'm going through because he doesn't have the same family issues. We ended up in a big fight over it and haven't really talked for the past few days. I've been stuck questioning if I did the right thing because, yeah, he might have had a point. I could have just let it slide. So I ended up at my dad's housewarming party uninvited, causing quite a scene. Some folks wanted more context about my relationship with Nora. Well, there's not much to say. We never really had a close bond. In the beginning, she just gave off weird vibes, although she acted normally with me earlier on. Initially, she was quite cold, but I shrugged it off, thinking she was just adjusting to having a kid around. But when I returned from college, she was openly rude, which really caught me off guard. My dad never said anything about it, even when it happened right in front of him. I don't get the family issues he mentioned as an excuse for Nora's behavior because, as far as I know, she's pretty happy with her family. They were even at the housewarming party. My guess is Nora wanted me out of the house. She got used to not having me around since I was away at college and only came back during holidays, so she started being rude to drive me away. And it worked because my dad let it happen. Even after all that, I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. But now I don't think that's possible. I honestly have no idea why Nora has a problem with me since I've never given her a reason to feel insecure. But it is what it is. As for my aunt, we've always been close. I'm not surprised she chose to tell me about how my dad got the money for the house. She's always been righteous, and, thankfully, nothing like my dad. She's been the only maternal figure in my life since my mom passed away. No other relatives reached out to ask why I wasn't going to the housewarming party, but she did. She didn't bring up anything about Sam or try to expose my dad herself because she didn't want to create drama with my grandparents. I get that. I've never really gotten along with my paternal grandparents anyway, so it doesn't make much of a difference to me. Update. So, I decided to talk to my roommate. It had been 3 days since I posted, and we still hadn't spoken. He's a really good friend, and I didn't want to lose him over this. I explained how betrayed I felt by my dad and that I didn't expect him to understand because he comes from a happy family, but for me, it sucks. I thought he'd get it because I was trying to have a heart-to-heart. But he told me I was being petty and immature. Even after I tried to explain myself, he didn't get it, and things just got worse. Eventually, he said he didn't want to be friends with someone who creates drama out of nothing. He even mentioned, Ed, that if I couldn't be loyal to my dad, he couldn't expect loyalty from me as a friend. I thought that was a ridiculous thing to say and told him I was ending the lease at the end of the month, and we could go our separate ways. He'd been really sympathetic when he first found out my dad didn't invite me to the housewarming after I helped them move, but suddenly he did a complete 180. I feel bad about it, but I won't tolerate that kind of disrespect. So, I talked to a few other friends and started looking for other apartments nearby. I had planned to move out by the end of the year anyway, and now it looks like that'll happen sooner. Regarding my family, my dad's been trying to call and text me non-stop since the incident, but I haven't responded. I think he finally got the hint because he stopped trying to reach out. Nora, however, texted me a few days ago, calling me a horrible human being and a disappointment to my dad. I replied that my dad was also a disappointment to me, so we're even. She didn't text back after that. My aunt let me know that the whole family is against my dad right now. He's been insisting that Sam and I made up lies to ruin his reputation, but no one's buying it because everyone knew his business was falling apart. My grandparents are upset with me because even though what my dad did was wrong, they think I should have confronted him in person instead. So, about airing our dirty laundry in public honestly, I couldn't care less about what they think. They can get as mad as they want. It's not like we've ever had a great relationship anyway. They're just so uptight and always worried about their image more than who they really are as people. Because of that, we haven't been in much contact for the past couple of years, and at this point, I don't see myself talking to them again anytime soon. As for Sam and me, we ended up going our separate ways. We didn't talk for a few days because, well, we didn't really have anything to discuss. But then, out of the blue, Sam told me that my father had reached out to him. My dad, being who he is, had the audacity to play the victim card. He was all like, I never expected Sam to betray me like this after being friends for so long, and he tried to make it seem like I had been the manipulative liar. He claimed that I had asked Sam for help, which supposedly justified why he asked Sam for money. Now, he was saying I was going back on my word because Nora had issues with me being mean to her, and that I was out to ruin his reputation because I was mad at both of them. Dad said he would try to pay back everything he borrowed by the end of the year. Honestly, he should have done that anyway, whether it became a big deal or not. But my dad obviously has no pride or self-respect. Thankfully, Sam didn't buy into his act and told him point blank that he wanted his money back or he'd be talking to his lawyer. Smart move by Sam to get Dad to sign some paperwork. Dad could really get into trouble if he doesn't keep his promise. So, at least now Dad will finally have to face some consequences. Update. Hey, it's been a month since I posted here and I've moved out. I blocked my ex-roommate on every social media platform because I just don't want anything to do with him anymore. The last few weeks of us living together were the worst for me. Not only were we not talking, but he started acting like I was Medusa or something, wouldn't even look at me. It was really hurtful because we had been friends for such a long time, and it felt like he didn't value that at all. But I couldn't change it, so I had to leave. On the day I moved out, he didn't even say goodbye, which made it clear I needed to cut him out of my life entirely. It was hard, but I did it for my own good, and most of my friends agreed with my decision. So that's how things went with my roommate, and it's kind of the same deal with my family. I haven't had any contact with my dad since the last incident. The only family member who's kept in touch is my aunt. No one else is speaking to my dad, but they're not talking to me either. It doesn't even make sense because it's not like I did anything wrong. My aunt says it's because my grandparents believed that even if my dad made mistakes, I was equally wrong for bringing all of this up publicly with Sam just to humiliate my dad. They've been brainwashing the rest of the family into thinking I'm just as bad as him. It's really sad that most of my other relatives have been gullible enough to buy into that. Honestly, I don't have anything to say about it. I had a good relationship with most of these people in the past, but those days are gone. Only my mom's side of the family still treats me like one of their own, and I am happy with that. And of course, my aunt will always have my back. She's also cut ties with her parents and my dad because she realized she doesn't need their validation. If I can do without it, so can she. I'm pretty content with life right now, and I'm better off without my family. Update 3. Hey, it's been only 2 weeks since my last update, but I'm back because my dad and Nora tried to contact me again a couple of days ago. They both texted me, asking if we could meet up, but I just blocked them. After I did that, they had the nerve to show up at my workplace during lunch hours. I didn't want them to make a scene in the lobby, so I told the receptionist to have them wait there. I quickly took them out to a nearby restaurant to avoid any embarrassment around my coworkers. I was already super embarrassed because I didn't expect them to show up at my job. I kept berating them because this was such a huge invasion of my privacy. At least they had the decency to apologize. They told me it was necessary to reach out to me to apologize for how they'd treated me. Nora admitted that she had always been jealous of how close my dad and I were, feeling like he was still too attached to his late wife. My dad apologized for being a fool and getting carried away. They said I didn't have to start talking to them again, but they just wanted me to know they were sorry. So they apologized, and I told them I accepted their apologies, but I also made it clear that I didn't want anything to do with them for now. I'm finally happy with where I'm at, and I really don't want them messing that up. Honestly, I thought they'd get mad or something, but to my surprise, they were actually pretty cool about it. They told me to take my time and that they were fine with giving me the space I needed. We finished our lunch, and they even picked up the entire tab before we left. I have to admit, I don't fully trust them yet, and I'm not sure if I ever will. But I am glad that they apologized, and that we managed to resolve things. It gave me the closure I needed to finally move on from all this drama. That said, it doesn't mean I'm going to forgive them completely and jump back into anything with them. I really don't want that right now. I'm going to take my time to think things over, and maybe in a year or two, I might consider getting back in touch with them, if I feel like it. But for now, just like I mentioned in my last update, I'm really happy with the life I'm living and want to keep it that way.